Rummage around in your working folder and reopen dsc_6431.psd. And in the previous lesson, we put this on Behance. And so now all the world can see it and comment on my wonderful flower, but maybe I want to do something else with it. Maybe I want to put it out on an internet site. Maybe I want to put it into something like PowerPoint. Now, if I go up to the word File on the pull-down menu and go down to Save As, I do have the ability to JPEG it, to GIF it, or to PNG it, which are the three main formats in where we're going, Safer Web. So what's the difference? Number one, you have more options in Safer Web. But number two, there's an assumption made. If you go Safer Web, regardless of what the resolution was, it's going to knock it down to 72. You're going out to the internet. If you do Save As JPEG, that doesn't happen. It keeps it at whatever resolution it was originally. So you want to remember that one thing. Let's go into Safer Web. Let me click up here to make sure it fits, and now it does. I'm going to come down here and say Fit in View. Now I've got a 4-up, a 2-up, optimized, and original. I usually like 4-up because I can see the original here in terms of its quality and size. It's almost 2 meg. And 3 versions of it based on what I want to do. Now this one's a JPEG. Actually, they're all 3 JPEGs right now. This one's a JPEG at 80% quality, which is about as good as you can get. It's called Very High. See right here. And that's where you change it, up here. This one is at 40% quality, and this one is at 20. This one is 108.3. This one's 30. Wow. 30.79K out of 2 million. This one is 21. It's even smaller. JPEG is a format that reduces file size by removing color information. Let me put it this way. It throws it away. It's lossy compression. It then takes the colors that are remaining in what must be some amazing algorithm and dithers them into patterns that trigger color memory, and we begin to see colors that aren't even there. Pretty cool when you think about it. This one will load in 5 seconds if I'm running a bandwidth of 256. Now, if you know your bandwidth, you can click here and change that. Now, we have a rule on the internet called the 8-second rule. It used to be the 10-second rule. It's now the 8-second rule. And that typically means that your landing page that people are waiting to open up, kind of like knocking on the door, let me in, must load within 8 seconds or will probably go someplace else. So if this is 5 seconds, although I like the quality, that's 5 seconds of my 8 just on that one image, and there's probably more that landing page is going to have on it. So this one, no. This one at 40, ain't bad. 2 seconds, 30.79. Now, what can we do here to make this better? Well, let's go with this one. Let's play around with some of our options up here. Number one, the way I made this image with a soft focus is ideal for compression. It would be bigger if there were harder edges. So I can probably go to quality right here and knock that down to 0. Put it in a trash compactor and jump on it. We're down to 14K and 1 second. It's not too bad. And I'll tell you what, it doesn't look much different than the one over here that's 2 million. What's progressive? Well, progressive actually will make the file a little bit bigger. You can see it was a 14.08 and now it's 14.2. But it loads it in waves. Some older browsers can't support progressive, so I usually don't use that one. The optimized option here really does help. It's just one more feature to help compress the image. You can even embed the color profile. This will raise the size. Most browsers today accept the color profile, which means the images, as much as possible, are going to look like you want them to look. Now, you have a blur option here. Why would you want to blur a photograph? Well, think of it this way. When you're working with JPEGs, the sharper definitions for the lines, the bigger the file. It loves soft because it can really compress. If you can afford a little bit of blur on the image, it might make it even that much smaller. We have a matte option here. If we had transparency, one of the downfalls of JPEGs is they do not support transparency. So if you had it as transparent in Photoshop and came here, that area would be white. You could change the color here if you wanted to. Now we can preview it here. You can check and add metadata like copyright information, stuff like that if you want to do that. You can even change the size right here if you want to do it here by either numbers or a percentage. Now JPEG is not our only option. If we click up here, we have the PNG format and the GIF format. GIF, graphics interchange file format, is not for photos in most cases. It's for clip art. It works best with RLE compression to compress solid colors. Photographs don't usually have solid colors. So clip art, logos, stuff like that, GIF them. What's the PNG8? The PNG8 is kind of phasing out the GIF. Eventually, believe it or not, this one's going away. This one is going to take its place. It does the exact same thing as a GIF. However, it can get the files sometimes 15-20% smaller. The PNG24, I love this format. Let me actually leave this one alone. Let's click on this one. Let's make that one a GIF. And let's make this one the PNG24. That's why I like a 3 up here. You can look at the original and kind of compare. Now you can see this one doesn't look as good. Some of the edges of the colors are harsh because it's not designed to work with photos, but check out the size. Back up to 220. Why? Because it can't handle all this stuff. It wants solid colors. So this is a rule out anyway, unless it's clip art. This one is just as good as this one. The PNG24 is lossless. It does not hurt the image. It will be just as good as the original, but 681, please. That is way too big for the internet. However, I would take that and put it into, say, a PowerPoint presentation, and that would be fine too. You have a lot of different options. Remember the one biggest thing. If you bring it into, say, for web, the resolution of the image is going down to 72. Other than that, choose a 4-up, look at the images, choose the one, and this is how I do it. I look at the one that is small enough to work for me and still maintains quality enough that I can use it. That's why I love 4-up. You like what you got? Click Save. Give it a name. Put it somewhere where it's supposed to be, obviously, and click Save down here. Save for Web has been there since, I think, Photoshop 5.5. Now, not CS 5.5, the original 5.5. But it's an excellent feature not only for the internet, but even things like Microsoft PowerPoint.